Good morning, I'm Pastor Allen, and today is Thursday, September 3rd, and this is our daily Bible study, and we are looking at Matthew's Gospel, chapter 23, verses 13 through 15. And after today, we'll be taking a short break because it's a holiday weekend. I have some things coming up. And this is a very long passage. I hope that you'll take time to read it sometime today or over the weekend. It runs from verses 13 to verse 39. And it's the 7 woes on the teachers of the law and the Pharisees as pronounced by Jesus. And next week we'll try to do all 7 woes in the week. But it is a long passage. And so we'll pick it up next week after looking at the first woe today. And so verse 13, "Woe to you teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites, you shut the door of the kingdom in people's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are." This is pretty strong language from Jesus. We've seen it before, but now he is point blank direct to the teachers of the law and the Pharisees. And in verse 13 it says, "You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces." Basically, the language he used, he says you slam the door shut in their faces. While they're trying to enter, while they're wanting to enter, while they want to find out how to enter the kingdom of heaven, the Pharisees and the teachers are, boom, slamming the door in their face. That's not what God's intent is. And that's not why Jesus came to the earth. Now, if you'll notice, there is no verse 14. Verse 14 is included over in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, verse 40, and the Gospel of Luke, chapter 20, verse 47. But scholars think that this was added later. In other words, somebody looked at the passages over in Luke and Mark and said, oh, well, that fits right in here. So they added it to Matthew. But the earliest manuscripts don't have that. And then the King James only people say this is wrong. This is scholars trying to change the Bible, trying to remove verses, to change things around for the modern world. And so that's why they continue to stick to the King James only. There's lots of other reasons also. It's actually trying to get the most accurate translation. The Word of God is infallible, as it was in the original manuscripts, but sometimes the scholars misheard, or sometimes they thought, well, like here, they thought, this seems to be missing, so we'll add it. But the very early manuscripts didn't have it, so they removed it, and it's just a shortened version of what you'll find over in Mark or Luke. And you can read that. It's Mark 12, chapter 12, verse 40, and Luke chapter 20, verse 47. And then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Woe to you teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are." In other words, they put all these rules on them, they put all these regulations on them, they put all these added burdens, as we were talking about yesterday, on the people that God didn't want, God didn't desire, and most of all, God didn't require. And again, sometimes we in churches, pastors and teachers in churches, add the same thing. We add stuff that's not in the Bible, not what God requires, not what Jesus showed us. That's why it's important for us to read the Bible, to know what the Word of God says. Even though it sounds complicated, and sometimes it's hard to understand the free grace, it really isn't that complicated. It really is that simple. Read it, accept it, and do it. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.